Namaskar, I'm Dr. Seema and I welcome all of you for Season 3 and Episode 1 of MANOVAAC. We have lots of questions for Guruji which have come to us from all the people and channel all over the world. Today in this episode we will be discussing about medical issues and especially euthanasia. These particular questions were sent to us by Dr. Ketan Kataria. Guruji, here is the first question. While giving anesthesia, the doctors take the breath away from the patient. At that moment, the patient's breath, brain, and all his or her systems are being physically controlled by the doctor. So at this point, who is in charge of the breath? The doctor, the patient, or the creator? The sub-question to this is, many times they are in a deeper state than normal sleep. Does the astral body travel at that moment?
Okay. Yes, it's an interesting question. Though I'm not a medical person, but what I know of anesthesia, it's basically when the autonomous functions of the body are taken over by the doctor. You know, it's like your breathing, your heart operation, your nervous system, that is then controlled by the doctor. Basically, anesthesia manipulates the nervous system in the body so that the person doesn't feel pain during an operation.
Yeah, it's the theta state that they try to put the patient
in. Put the patient to a very deep kind of a sleep state. Now, at that point of time, yes, I guess the doctor is in charge of the breath. The breath is not the doctor's or the, it is the patient is breathing. And they put a endotracheal tube into your lungs so that the breathing is done by the patient, but it is controlled by the doctor. So essentially, the doctor is in charge of controlling the breathing,
rather keeping it
at a certain level and seeing that that level is maintained, and also the other functions are controlled and maintained by the doctor, because all the autonomous functions are of the brain are sort of in suspension at that point of time. So it is not that anyone is controlling. I mean, in the sense, it doesn't, the thing doesn't pass on to anyone, but the doctor is responsible for seeing that the patient is still breathing and all the functions are going on during anesthesia.
And not only breathing, but at a certain level. So if certain parameters start
change
here and
absolutely.
there, so they are in charge.
Absolutely, they are in charge of that. So yes, but the life of the patient is in the hands of the doctor at that point of time.
So it's not the creator.
It's not the creator. The creator has nothing to do with it.
And
the doctors.
Patient is helpless because
they are out of consciousness. Yeah, they are in deep sleep. So yes, the whole responsibility is of the doctor to control. But the breath is the patient's.
Okay.
That is not. That is only monitored by the doctor.
Okay.
But the patient does continue breathing at that point of time.
But it may go a little up or down, which then the doctor has
to see
manage.
That it is maintained at the right level. Yeah, and if the doctor messes up, yes, the patient could lose their life.
Yes.
Which is very rare now with modern equipment. That's a very rare phenomena, but
and it's a very
they are responsible.
Fine balance that the anesthetist has to maintain.
Yeah. Yes. No, but the breath still belongs to the patient. And the patient is breathing.
Okay. Since you have already discussed a lot of changes in consciousness with us, like alpha state is called sleep or beta state is called awake, and theta we call meditative state. And that is where actually the patient goes close to that state.
Yeah.
And that's why many people have out-of-body experiences.
During
they watch their
anesthesia.
own operation, or
Sometimes,
they hear
sometimes.
doctor or staff talking,
Right.
even if they are unconscious.
Right, right.
So the second question was like, in that state, does the astral body,
Body
travel or come out of the
I'll explain to
physical
you.
body?
I'll explain to you. See, what happens is when you're put under anesthesia by medication, the consciousness obviously goes to the deep sleep state, okay, or what we call lower alpha. Hmm? Now, it either stays in the lower alpha. Now, nobody knows exactly where your consciousness is going to be. No, not the doctor, nobody. So, it can be in the lower alpha, but it could cross to the theta state, which is between 3 and 7 cycles per second, brain cycles per second.
Impulses.
Brain impulses. Now, when that happens, or even when it is in lower alpha, like when we are in deep sleep, our astral bodies do go out of the physical body and they can travel and they can move around. But here it does require to go into the theta state, which again is not really theta. It is because in theta state awareness is there. You see,
Here we are not.
here you're not
conscious.
aware. So you can't really call it theta, but it's a very deep lower alpha. And yes, the astral
Crossover
body
can take place.
can go out, and though rare, because the person may not remember it. Like again in deep sleep,
Patient doesn't remember.
yeah, we don't remember our astral travel in deep sleep. Similarly, here the patient can go out, means the astral body can go out. The patient may even view the operation, but may not remember it once it is back in consciousness, because that memory does not always retain. That's very temporary memory. You know, so if you're lucky, sometimes you do remember it, but most often you don't. And it is not mandatory that every person who takes anesthesia goes out of the body.
Okay.
That is not mandatory.
Yeah, because such cases are very rare.
Very rare.
And maybe hardly 1 or
Yeah,
2% people.
It could happen, but it could happen. It is a possibility. It is
Not always.
So is it because it's artificially created and not
Yes, it is because it is
natural? We don't
artificially created.
consciously go into
Exactly, because it's artificially created and monitored. Because what happens is in anesthesia, the doctor's monitoring your blood pressure and heart rate and all that. In sleep, it is self dictated. You know, it's autonomous.
Right.
So that helps the body to go into theta better. Here, since the heart rate and the blood pressure and etc. is and the nervous system is monitored by the doctor, it stays in that lower alpha state.
Where astral body may or
May rarely
not,
go out, but not normally. Not normally.
Even if it goes out, it won't remember.
It won't remember. It may not remember. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it won't.
A lot happens, Guruji. You must
I know.
sometime explain about these stages and little bit
Let-
maybe
yeah.
in coming episodes.
Sure.
But now the second question again by Dr. Ketan.
Yeah.
There are 3 questions, but they are quite related to each other. So I will first read them out, and then Guruji will answer. So there is the question of euthanasia being moral or not. Under what circumstances can euthanasia be justifiable, if at all? Is there an ethical karmic difference between killing someone and letting them die?
Okay.
Second question is, what are the spiritual implications of euthanasia and how it is different from suicide? And one more question is that, as a doctor, now I can relate to him. As a doctor, I am stuck with a dilemma many times about a patient who is on ventilator or with a critical illness. We keep on doing our best trying to save the patient because that is what
Doctors are supposed to
do. I just prolong his life at times. Does this add to any karma of mine? Like because I want to save that person,
yeah.
I just continue with whatever support I can offer.
Right.
And if I let him or her pass away when I may already know of the outcome, am I doing wrong? By letting them go peacefully and not supporting unnecessarily and
Right.
prolonging
Right.
for no reason. How does this work in terms of karma? So it's the dilemma.
Okay.
This way or that way, am I taking decision
Which way?
or
Yeah.
no, call on behalf of patient?
Correct. Correct. Okay. Yeah, I'll explain to all the three questions. Let me first clarify what is euthanasia.
Yes, Guruji.
See, now euthanasia is of two types. The first kind of euthanasia is where a person is put to death, which is called assisted death. Okay, that is the first type of euthanasia, where you proactively put that person's put an end to that person's life by, say, injecting something or giving some kind of chemical or gas or anything. That is called assisted death.
Okay.
Okay. Now, assisted death has very different implications from another type of euthanasia, which is letting a person pass away in, I would say, naturally and in dignity.
How? Like, what is the difference?
I'll tell you. Now, firstly, let me come to assisted death. When you actually inject something or provide a foreign chemical into the body, which then seizes the life of that person, that legally is murder. Okay, so
Legally.
legally,
Yeah.
yes. That's why I'm emphasizing on that.
Yeah.
Legally, that is murder, and there could be serious criminal implications to that. Okay. Karmically and ethically,
And spiritually
also, there are very different consequences. You see, you must remember one thing in karma. Every action does not incur karma. The intention behind the action will incur karma. So now, if you are ending somebody's life with assisted death, again, please understand that. If you are putting an end to somebody's life, what is your intention behind it? Is the intention to hurt, harm that person, or is it to serve a personal agenda? Means by that person ending their life sooner, are you benefiting from it, or or somebody else is benefiting from it, and that person is paying you something to do that kind of a thing? Now, when there is a personal agenda in it, and you assist in assisted suicide, or you bring about an assisted death, then that is karma. Yes, definitely. But if the intention is pure, if the doctor is participating in assisted suicide, but completely without a personal agenda, and his only intention is to bring relief to that soul, which is probably lingering and just prolonging life without any future, or without any hope for the future.
Or releasing from the misery.
Or releasing from the acute misery and pain, then no, karma will not come into the picture. Yes, as I said, legally that person is still liable, because law is law. But karmically, no. Because karma accrues on the intention behind the action, not the action itself. That is why.
True.
So this is what happens in assisted death, where something is injected or given so that in a few moments or in some period of time, that person's life comes to an end.
Yeah, because in between I watched this Dr. Death movie, Guruji,
Right.
and it's watching as a doctor and watching as a normal person.
There's a big
created-
difference.
Big difference. And somewhere, because you know that for somebody, the outcome is just prolonged misery and vegetative state.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
physically, because misery sometimes people misunderstood. Just because they are facing some troubles or problems in life, they want to end their life. And here, actually, they are physically, there is just no hope for the body to continue. And they opted, like they given their permission.
Permission. Yes. There are many cases that where the patient gives the permission to end their life.
Right.
Correct. So no, that permission is definitely required. I'm not talking. I'm talking about how is it karmically applicable to the person who's assisting that death. You know, so there the intention matters.
Okay.
Again, as I said, it would be very different legally. Legally, that doctor would still be liable, though he may not incur karma,
Yeah.
but he would legally be liable.
So, Guruji, just now, besides Switzerland, I think anywhere else assisted death is
Death is
not
illegal.
considered.
Illegal.
No, yeah, it's still illegal. But lot of countries are thinking about it, or at least some patients are also coming forward and asking through legal system only. But here, like I said, there are two angles. One is for the doctor who is assisting,
And one is
another
for
from the patient side, how it is
so I'll
going
explain.
to
I'll explain. See now, this is for assisted death. Now there is another kind of euthanasia where you let the patient live his or her normal, natural life without the intervention of medical machines or life supporting machines. Yes, life supporting machines, I would say. Now, that also is partly euthanasia because you can prolong the life of the patient, but you are not by not putting the patient onto life support machines. That is, I think, a very sensible way to go about dealing with the situation, because in a lot of these cases where the patients are in a terrible pain and misery, it is prolonged by these life support machines.
Not even that, Guruji. If you pull out the life support, actually, natural death can occur.
Exactly.
Because doctors know now here onwards, there is just no use. The machine can keep your heart pumping and
the lungs going, yeah.
And that's why the body may remain alive, but there is no life.
And there is no hope for
There is no
recovery.
hope for
So
recovery,
that is a very important criteria and a question to ask: what is the future of that patient?
I cannot even call it a euthanasia, because euthanasia is where the person can take a call. Okay, I want to end my life. Here, so they are even not in that state.
Sometimes they are not, and sometimes even when they are in that state, the doctors and the relatives insist on giving them, because the patient cannot himself or herself decide, na? You see, that is the problem. So the doctors and the relatives decide that yes, we will put that patient onto artificial support and prolong the life. Now this can be avoided. And this is really a very beautiful form of euthanasia, where you let the patient die with some dignity. I mean, everybody wants to learn the art of living, but nobody wants to know the art of dying. You know, it's like that. We have to learn the art of dying.
Medical science has advanced so much, like it can just keep you going, but there is no life. Like,
And you have to
open your
know
eyes.
how to go with dignity. And when there's a time where the body has done its job, and to just keep pushing it for the sake of seeing that person breathing.
Not even alive.
Not even alive, I would say. Yeah, just to see that person breathing is I think gross injustice.
Sometimes we just don't understand what our love is doing to the other person.
Exactly.
Just because we want to continue seeing
and
them.
here there are no karmic implications. If you let the person pass away naturally with dignity, gracefully, as long as its body can support itself, that is perfect. I mean, you can without guilt take away the life support and allow the body to either go on or cease. I mean, one of the two.
Then the call is up to that
up to that soul. Exactly. There are so many cases where the soul is trapped because of these artificial life support machines.
And as a doctor, I have known certain cases where because timely decision was not taken to take the life support off, now they are in limbo. They are not
exactly. Then it's a dilemma.
Yeah.
Then that is what the person is asking. That it's a dilemma for the doctor. But you see, the doctor should also decide whether to give that person life support or not. And in this case, you have to see the age of the person, the condition of the person,
damage.
the extent of damage, and the future prospects. I mean,
yes.
Is there a chance for that person to live any better life after that?
Guruji, here now there is lot of pressure, social pressure also.
Yeah.
Not only on relatives, but I have seen in my own very close family members where death was imminent. Like that person has lived full life, and there was no scope of him to recover, and but hospitals just refused to take off everything. They said, no, as long as you're in hospital, we have to at least keep the saline going.
Yeah.
And at one moment we thought, no Guruji, we thought even that saline is prolonging.
It can.
So finally we all family members sat
you have
together
to take a decision.
And we took decision, and that was allowed. And
True.
I could see the soul passing off so easily in 2 hours.
Yes.
Otherwise 2 days we saw that soul struggling.
Obviously,
because some support was on.
Yes.
Oxygen was on.
Oxygen is on, saline is on, and medication also. Sometimes
it wasn't life support, but that little bit of oxygen also was.
See, but that's a very personal call.
I know.
That's a very personal call, and that cannot be taken by a doctor.
No,
that has to be taken by the close relatives if the patient is not able to
because
take that.
Doctors from their side, that's why you go to hospital actually. They see that whatever little
they can save your life. That also, and they are in business, they are commercial, so they will obviously say that no, we will give you whatever we can afford to.
And this is not called active life support. Active is when ventilators come into picture.
Correct.
So
this is passive life support, but yes, you can even withdraw passive life support depending entirely on the age of the person and the condition and the future life that person can have. I mean, if that person is going to be a vegetable anyway, I mean, what is the sense of trapping the soul inside the body? And
I have seen they were leaving, but too much of life support now have made them linger on.
Correct.
And now they are not here and not there. And
I know.
Like sort
that,
of
that happens. That happens in many cases where they're comatose.
And they can continue for months
for
and
months,
years.
months on end.
So what is this like, Guruji?
No, this is where people have to, as I said, learn the art of dying and letting die.
Letting die.
True. And not
get emotional
and get attached to that person just to see the person breathing. I mean, that person doesn't have a life. Being on a hospital bed or being confined to a bed and being fed, being completely 100% dependent, that is not a life a person should be subjected to.
And it's such a then painful, slow process and the body just starts shrinking.
So this is where your spiritual maturity counts. This is where your understanding of life counts. That person is just going to change, end one chapter and go to another chapter. And death is not something to be feared. I mean, it's a transmigration. You're going from one reality to another reality. I mean, you don't cease to exist.
Social pressure is so much, especially.
But that is out of ignorance.
Country.
But that is
more of social pressure. Because you don't want to live with that guilt that maybe there was a possibility, even 1% chance. But like you rightly said, spiritual maturity is very important. for the person, for the caregiver who has to take that decision.
Decision, yes, yes.
And here na actually, Chanchal, doctor can explain you much better that
Right.
okay,
They should.
this is the time they give, but sometimes the emotions of
Yes.
a relative
Yes.
can
And like
force
they
them.
say that, what will society say? And like
I
they
haven't
say,
done enough.
Enough.
And
And the
how
person
can-
who's suffering is in vegetative state. But the caregiver is actually the one who's suffering because he has to take care
That
of
person has to take
the
care. No,
person
both
and
suffer.
Emotional.
Both suffer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they may be like, not
They suffer
alive
at
as
a
such.
different state because you are trapped. Na, that's in fact
Yes.
terrible suffering.
Yes,
But
and
we
the
don't.
caregiver is suffering
Because
emotionally as well as
and
physical,
emotionally.
whatever discomfort. So it's a social pressure.
Yes. So this is where I've been in my previous speeches also I've said that be aware of this and don't just go blindly by emotion or by attachment. Mainly it is attachment.
Right.
So here you have to take a call on a slightly higher level of thinking and not on such a human level that you subject yourself and the patient to more misery, and to let go. You have to learn the art of dying. Ultimately.
Detachment.
And true love somewhere na
That is true love. To let the person go is true love.
True
Correct.
love, true love.
Correct.
And
I
when
absolutely
you know
agree with you.
the body is not in condition to
revive again.
Revive again. Damage is too much.
Too much.
And
Yes,
there
yes.
is no quality life
Right.
ahead. And
yes.
and taking a conscious decision and letting that person go peacefully, I
Yes,
think
yes.
it's a merciful and very loving act.
Absolutely,
Very loving
absolutely. I would definitely think that, and there is absolutely no karmic implications in that.
act in that.
None whatsoever.
Coming back to euthanasia, Guruji, I know it's a long battle where legally also it's permissible, but at least karmically you have explained very beautifully. So somewhere people get this now clarity. It's not karmically negative, but
Unless there is an agenda and there is a personal agenda in ending somebody's life.
But Guruji, like we have also heard from you that in childhood and in old age, you sort of cancel your negative karma more because you are helpless.
Yes.
So how do you explain this part of
exactly.
journey?
Now this is what happens that in a person's normal lifespan, you are going to square off a lot of karmas, and especially in the last years of your life where you suffer physically. So that is where you square up a lot of your karmas. Okay. Now, when you indulge in assisted death, not when you let the life end naturally, that is okay. That means your karmas have been taken care of. But when it is assisted death, means you inject something or you take that person's life, then what you are doing is you are postponing the karmic workout that that person would have normally had by suffering, say, for 1 month or 1 year or 2 years or 5 years, whatever. That much karmic debt which would have been worked out is now going to be postponed to another lifetime. So you are not really helping that patient as such karmically, because that patient will have to work out that karma in another life.
Guruji, this is now
This is
another
tricky.
dilemma.
So that is why I said that rather than assisted death, it is better to remove all life support if there is no hope for the patient, and let the body go naturally, because that means the end of life has come in a natural way.
Yes.
So whatever karma has to be worked out, if it has to suffer, it will suffer for some period of time, and the body will cease after that. So that is better. But when you assist in the death and you bring it about proactively, then the karma is going to get postponed.
It's such a difficult call, Guruji, because
So
either way.
as far as I am concerned, I would not indulge in assisted death.
Okay.
Because it spiritually doesn't serve the purpose. But yes, removing life support or not going on life support, again, according to age and the conditions, I think that is perfectly okay.
So, Guruji, basically, whatever I could gather from this is it's not only important to know how to live, it's more important to know how to die. So, thank you for introducing us to this concept very early in the journey when we come to you. You train us to see both the sides of the coin and make us understand how beautiful it is. And that's somewhere I think it's very important, especially for a spiritual sadhak, and rise to a level of balance where letting yourself go and letting somebody else go should be like a
basically,
very smooth
you get over the fear of death also. I mean, or for yourself and for your loved one.
for your loved ones.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Guruji.
So Guruji, last question which is related to this, research on animals.
Okay.
Does conducting animal studies in the name of science and research add to negative karmic implications? Considering that we use a lot of products which are tested on animals and
A lot of research is done and animals are killed in the process.
Right. And
All the clinical research.
Yes.
Clinical research is done on
does it
animals.
add to the karmic implications?
Now this, I will answer this very quickly in the context of meat eating also. Because I had this query and earlier I had asked Babaji about this and asked my Guru about it. And so the same will apply to animals who are killed for food
Right.
and for research and science. Now, animals and every other kind of life on the planet is ultimately there to serve humanity. Okay? So, though it has independent life, its ultimate goal is to serve humanity and to serve human life. Similarly, for animals also, they also in every way possible serve human life or serve humanity to live. Now, each animal, even a plant, is a soul.
Right.
Anything that has life has a soul. And all souls have contracts. So these animals who take birth and live their lives, whichever way, whether it's consequential or inconsequential, live according to a contract. And many of them are contracted for serving humanity in a certain way. So some might be contracted to serve humanity as food. Some might be contracted to serve humanity in research, in science, in medicine, or in any other kind of products that we use. Though sometimes they are abused also. Like animals are killed for fur coats and stuff like that, which is superfluous. I mean, that does not serve humanity.
Even for meat nowadays, the way breeding is happening.
Breeding is happening. It's artificial done and more cruelly.
A lot of it goes to waste, Guruji.
And a lot of it goes to waste. No, but that's part of the contract. It's part of Earth life.
Killing for fur,
So,
Guruji, it's because it's not even to sustain your life.
yeah, it is.
Maybe in some areas, yes. Earlier there was no option. I cannot go and tell Eskimo ki, oh, please don't use fur.
No, but in previous times, animal skin was used as clothes.
Yes.
Before they developed into cotton and stuff like that.
Go to such an extent that these species started getting extinct.
Yeah, so there could be if there is overkill or if it's just purely meant for cosmetic use, then there could be certain karmic implications by the people who indulge in that. But by and large, no. I mean, animals are in service of humanity. And therefore,
as a human
therefore
being,
they are contracted for it. They are contracted for it. Like the villains in your life are contracted to bring you pain.
God, so much
So it's like
gratitude
that.
should come.
Yes,
And
we are so privileged.
So you can be,
Yes.
you can have gratitude for the animals who contract this way. But no, every killing does not have negative karmic implications.
do they get some benefit of their sacrifice,
They-
Guruji?
It's part of their evolution, which is very different from human evolution.
Because for medical research, Chanchal, we cannot test it out on human beings.
No, obviously
Right.
not. You have to
So
use animals.
lot of research
So
has
that is why they are
be on
contracted. So such
animals.
animals come with that contract. They are born with that contract to be in service of humanity. That is all.
Okay.
So as I said, ultimately it is the intention behind the action and not the action itself. That's how it is.
So basically, it's one is like in clinical research, for example, doctors are doing. So they are not incurring.
No, they will not incur karma.
And
No.
as users, we are also not.
No, you won't
incurring.
incur karma. No, of course not.
That's a relief, Guruji. Thank you so much for answering and giving so many clarifications, Guruji. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for watching. See you next time.